Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're heading way back, ancient Mongolia.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to be looking at a really fascinating dinosaur, Aepyornithomimus.
Hmm.
We've got the original scientific description here and also the Wikipedia page, which gives a good overview.
Good, solid sources.
Right. And our mission really is to dig into what makes this dinosaur special. You know, what its discovery actually tells us about its world, its evolution.
Exactly. It's like putting together a puzzle from, 75 million years ago? And this one, Aepyornithomimus, it has some surprisingly important pieces.
Okay, great. Well, let's kick things off with the name then. It's quite a mouthful. Aepyornithomimus.
It really is a bit of a tongue twister.
So what's the story there?
Well, it breaks down basically. You've got Aepyornis, that refers to the extinct elephant birds from Madagascar, those huge flightless birds.
Oh, right, the giant ones. Okay.
Yeah. And then mimus, that just means mimic. So put it together. Aepyornis mimic.
An Aepyornis mimic. Okay. So what was it mimicking? Was it, like, huge like them?
No, not the size, interestingly. The link is actually in the foot structure.
The foot?
Yeah, the pes. When the paleontologists looked closely at the foot bones of Aepyornithomimus, they saw a kind of similar setup to what you see in Aepyornis.
Huh. A structural echo across all that time and space. That's wild.
It really is.
So this foot mimicker lived late Cretaceous, Campanian age specifically,
That's the one. Around 75 million years ago.
and found in Mongolia in the Jadokta Formation.
Correct. The holotype specimen comes right from there.
Now that formation, the Jadokta, that wasn't your typical lush dinosaur jungle, was it? I remember reading it was quite different.
Oh, absolutely different. The consensus is that the Jadokta Formation back then was largely an arid Aeolian desert.
Aeolian, so windblown.
Exactly. Think sand dunes, wind shaping the landscape. Probably quite similar in many ways to the modern Gobi Desert.
Wow. The desert dinosaur from 75 million years ago. Okay, so how did they actually find this specific fossil, the holotype?
Right, the holotype. It has the number MPCD 100130. It was found at a place called Tugrugin Shuri. That's a specific spot within the Jadokta Formation.
Tugrugin Shuri. Got it.
The discovery itself was back in 1994. It was actually a joint expedition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Japanese researchers from the Hayashibara Museum of Natural Sciences working alongside Mongolian scientists from the Institute of Paleontology and Geology.
Cool collaboration.
Definitely. And the person who physically found it was Shigeru Suzuki. Imagine finding that.
Must have been incredible. What was the actual rock like? The sediment?
Well, it fits the desert picture, described as semi-arid Aeolian sediments. So yeah, wind-deposited sands and sandstones.
Okay.
They noted it was irregular, light gray, and had cross-bedding.
Cross-bedding. That's from shifting dunes or currents, right?
Exactly. Classic sign of that kind of sandy, shifting environment.
So what did they actually pull out of the ground? Was it a whole skeleton?
Not the whole thing, no. But still a really informative find. It was an almost complete articulated left pes.
The foot. Articulated, so still joined together.
Yeah, basically, as it was in life, which is fantastic. Plus, they found a partial astragalus and a complete calcaneum. Those are key ankle bones.
Ah, connecting foot to leg.
Right. Gives you a better sense of the lower limb. And they also got the lower tarsal, the third, part of the midfoot area.
Okay, so mainly the foot and ankle bits. But I guess even that can tell you a lot, right? About movement, relationships.
Oh, absolutely. Foot structure is incredibly revealing in dinosaurs.
And these bones, where are they now?
They're housed back in Mongolia at the Institute of Paleontology and Geology of the Mongolian Academy of Sciences. A fitting place.
Makes sense. Now, it was found in 94, but the formal description, that took a while. Didn't it come out in 2017?
That's correct, yeah. Over 2 decades later. The formal paper naming and describing it was published in 2017.
Who was on that team?
It was a group effort. Sakbatar Chinzorik, Yoshitsugu Kobayashi, Kishijev Tsogbatar, Philip J. Curry, big name there, Mahito Watabe, and Rinchen Barsbold, another giant in Mongolian paleontology.
Wow, quite the lineup.
Absolutely. And that's when it officially became Aepyornithomimus tugricanensis.
Tugricanensis. Okay, I'm guessing that relates back to the discovery spot.
You got it. The species name, tugricanensis, is a direct nod to the Tugrugin Shuri locality. It's pretty common practice to name species after where they're found. Ties them to their origin.
Right. Anchors them geographically. Okay, so they describe the bones, but what about its family tree? Where does Aepyornithomimus fit in?
Well, they ran a phylogenetic analysis, comparing its features to other dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It came out as a derived ornithomimosaur.
Okay, derived, meaning sort of more advanced or later evolving within that group?
Exactly. Part of the Ornithomimidae family, that's the classic ostrich-mimic dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And that whole family sits within the theropod clade.
Theropod's the group with T-Rex, velociraptors, and birds.
That's the one. The big group of mostly two-legged, mostly meat-eating dinosaurs and their feathered descendants.
So Aepyornithomimus is in that speedy ostrich-like branch. Any particularly close cousins identified?
Yeah, the analysis suggested it was pretty closely related to some familiar names. Struthiomimus, Ornithomimid itself, Gallimimus.
Ah, the Jurassic Park ones.
Yep, the flocking ones from the movie. And also Anserimus. So definitely nested within that core group of ornithomimids.
Quite a family gathering. Were there any other sort of surprising connections found in that analysis?
Well, interestingly, yes. The study also hinted at a close relationship with the Dinocaridae.
Whoa, Dinoparis with the giant arms and the hump and the duckbill. Seriously.
Yeah, yep. Those incredibly weird theropods. And also close to Aepyornithomimus, another type of ornithomimosaur.
Okay.
And even more specifically, Aepyornithomimus seemed to cluster with an unnamed ornithomimosaur from the Bisekti Formation in Uzbekistan.
Hmm.
Another data set point.
Huh. That link to Dinocaris is wild. It just shows how evolution can take these unexpected turns, doesn't it? A desert runner related to that.
It really does. Highlights the diversity within these broader groups.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier the foot bones were key. I think the paper said something about the metatarsals, those long bones in the foot.
Yes, exactly. The researchers pointed out that the condition of the metatarsals in Aepyornithomimus seems sort of intermediate.
Intermediate. Between what?
Between the condition you see in more basal, like earlier branching ornithomimosaurs, and what you see in the more derived ones, like Struthiomimus or Gallimimus.
So like a transitional form,
Yeah.
caught in the middle of evolving that specific foot structure.
That seems to be the interpretation, yeah. Like it represents a snapshot, a stage in the evolution of that very specialized ornithomimosaur foot. An evolutionary halfway point, almost, preserved right there in the bone.
That's incredible. An evolutionary snapshot. Okay, let's circle back to something crucial, that desert environment, the Jadocta Formation. What does finding Aepyornithomimus there tell us?
Right, this is really significant. We've established the Jadocta was arid, wind-blown desert. Now, compare that to the later Nemec Formation, also in Mongolia, also late Cretaceous, but generally wetter, more rivers, more humid.
Okay, so two different environments relatively close in time.
Exactly. And the big deal about Aepyornithomimus is that it's the first really diagnostic, clearly identifiable ornithomimosaur found in those older, drier Jadocta sediments.
Ah, so maybe we thought they mostly liked the wetter places, like Nemegd?
That was perhaps the assumption, or at least where we had better evidence. Finding this one firmly in an arid setting challenges that. It implies these ornithomimid could handle a wider range of conditions than maybe we gave them credit for.
That really is significant. It's not just ticking off another species found. It suggests this whole group was more adaptable.
Precisely. They weren't just restricted to, lush river valleys. They can make a living in a pretty harsh desert.
Which opens up all sorts of questions, doesn't it? Like, what were they eating in a desert? How did they get enough water?
Exactly. Did they have physiological adaptations maybe for conserving water? And did that unique foot structure, the thing that gave it its name, maybe help it move efficiently on sand?
Interesting. So perhaps its key feature was linked to its tough environment.
It's definitely a possibility to consider. It forces us to rethink the ecological tolerances of these animals.
So this Aepyornis mimic, it wasn't just mimicking a foot structure. It was maybe a bit of a pioneer, making its way in the desert before some of its relatives settled into potentially easier, wetter environments later on.
That's a really nice way to put it, yeah. It paints a picture of adaptability, of resilience within that ornithomim group.
This has been incredibly illuminating, a great deep dive. So just to quickly recap the main points, we've got Aepyornithomimus,
The Aepyornis mimic.
right, roaming Mongolian deserts roughly 75 million years ago, named for a foot structure similarity to extinct elephant birds. And maybe the most crucial takeaway is its discovery in the arid Jadocta Formation. It shows these ornithomimids were more environmentally flexible than we perhaps realized.
Exactly. It adds a really important piece to their evolutionary story, showing they could colonize these quite diverse ancient landscapes, a desert adaptation.
Okay, fantastic. And just to leave you, our listener, with something to think about. If Aepyornithomimus thrived in a desert, while later relatives were common in more humid places, what other kinds of environmental shifts or pressures might have shaped the evolution of these ostrich mimics over time?
Yeah, and maybe more broadly, what can studying creatures that conquered these kinds of extreme environments, ancient or modern, tell us about, well, the sheer resilience of life itself?
Something definitely worth pondering.